policy in there where if somebody calls, like, nonsense in the parking lot. And, I mean, the blinds are drawn, the doors are locked, we're closed. They're out there acting up or, whatever. It's, I really don't know what more we could do.
What time is off duty there till?
He's there until the bartenders leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I assume the other item that we're concerned about is the August 3rd item here then, correct? Okay. So at this point, City Attorney's Office would be appropriate to have Mr. Dubiak give his perspective on the August 3rd events?
Yes, I would recommend reading just this section in here so that you don't have to
Okay.
discuss the incident.
Would you mind reading that on my behalf?
Sure. So you have been called here because the committee has received one or more incidents concerning your establishment. They issue a formal expression of concern against you under section 6-23 of the ordinance. If you are issued 2 or more within a 6-month period, or 3 or more within a 1-year period, you will be referred to the City Attorney's Office for further disciplinary proceedings, including possible suspension and revocation of your license. You will have an opportunity to address the committee to tell the committee how you intend to correct the issue going forward. However, you do not have to discuss the specific incident unless you wish.
So, the first question is, do you wish to discuss the incident of August 3rd and give us your perspective on it?
I'm assuming this is the 20-year-old that we carded and didn't serve. Would that be the incident?
That would be your perspective on the incident. Yes, please give us your.
No problem. And I got a couple of people that were there and I really wasn't. And where do you want to go from? You want me to start from the top?
I would think so. We have seen the police report on it, so.
Okay, so I wasn't there, so I was called that there was an accident with somebody leaving. Which point then I went up to the bar along with, I met my bar manager up there. And we started to go through the footage, the video footage, tried to piece it together the best we could. The following day, when police came, grabbed all they needed out of my office for as far as piecing together all the cameras for zooming in and, piecing, this camera to that camera and everything else. I'll tell you what, 2 people that I brought with me, well, besides my wife, Mike and Julie Johnson, were the ones that were there for the entire thing. These are the people that tried to get the people to not drive and offered them an Uber, took a picture of their license plate, threatened to call the police if either one of these guys drove out. I really would like it if they spoke, because I'm speaking for them. You guys don't mind?
We'll take care of that. Anything else you want to say there? Sure.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say?
Right now, like I said, honestly, they know the story better than me, and as far as all the proper safety things and all the things that, representing the bar, if you will, that they tried to do, nobody knows better than them too.
Is that acceptable, City Attorney's Office?
Committee can hear from one.
Yes.
I have one question. You were ticketed for operator license to serve. Somebody didn't have it with them. Was it that they didn't have it with them, or they did not?
It had expired.
It expired.
Yeah, it had expired.
So they were not licensed to serve.
It had expired. Thank you.
All right, well, perhaps it'd make sense for one of these folks to come up and we can swear them in and have them do their.
Pull up another chair.
If we're gonna have more than one telling the same story, we'll just take one then.
All right, yeah.
Sounds good. And you are Julie Johnson then?
I am Julie Johnson, yes.
Okay, and you swear that everything you're about to tell us is the truth?
Yes.
So please, flesh out the details a little bit more then.
Absolutely. So, we had just finished our city softball game and walked into the bar, and as we entered the bar, we heard the bartender, who we know well, we play sports for Doobies. We heard her yelling at somebody that they needed to leave her bar, that they could no longer stay and to get out. At that time, we were literally just walked in the door, and he was actually very close to the door. So, my husband said, "Sir, you gotta go," and probably didn't call him sir, "You gotta go." He was kind of pushing up against people playing darts and stuff and making a ruckus. And so my husband ushered him out of the bar, and the 2 people that were with him went with him. I really didn't think nothing of it. Went to talk to the other softball team for about maybe 5 minutes or so. Then I realized he was still outside. So I went outside to see what was going on, and at that time, I heard my husband tell the guy, like, "I'm done. I've tried to get you into Uber. You don't need to be driving. You're too intoxicated." And the 2 gentlemen just proceeded to walk to the vehicle. I was then talking with the female that was with them and trying to reason with them. And I said, please, just let us get you an Uber. There's no reason to drive. Obviously, my husband's been out here talking with you. He doesn't think you should be driving. Let us buy you an Uber. Your friends are drunk. You don't want them to cause anybody any injury. She said, they're not drunk. They are high. That was exactly what she said to me. I then started to walk towards the vehicle myself with my camera. I was gonna take a picture of the vehicle, see if I could get the guys to listen to me. At that point, she actually started to kind of accost me. She started telling me I was harassing her and that she was gonna call the police. I said, please, call the police. I want you to. And she started making a big scene, so I kind of backed off a little bit. I did snap a picture of the car, but I did back off a tad bit. And I'm like, you guys need to go. I'd prefer you didn't drive, but you need to go. You can't be here. She's like, well, you still have my credit card. So I went back into the bar, grabbed her credit card, handed it to her. She actually took off walking eastbound and did not get into the vehicle. Well, while I was speaking with her, the two gentlemen in the vehicle switched spots. The guy was in the driver's seat, got out, got in the back seat, and vice versa, and then they took off. So, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it, but I feel like as patrons, we made every attempt to try and stop them.
Okay, if I may ask, do you work at the bar, or are you a
No,
patron?
I play
You- you
softball,
have-
darts,
okay.
volleyball, and pool.
You're heavily involved with the bar.
Yes.
Definitely, then.
Yes.
Alder Peterson.
I got a question, I guess, for the owner again.
Yep.
Okay, I'm getting different stories as to whether or not the individual was carded. And if he was carded, why was he allowed to stay in? And and if he was allowed to stay in, how long was he allowed to stay in? It's reported that he may have been siphoning drinks from the lady that bought. So I'm curious, was he actually carded? And how long was he allowed to stay in the tavern after he was carded?
So the female had ordered 2 drinks, and the bartender, carded her and said, why do you need 2 drinks? And she said, a friend of mine is meeting me. And the 2 guys who met her, one was 21, so that was the second drink. She said, I need to see your ID as well. He said, I don't have one. She said, well, then I can't serve you and you gotta go. And he said, well, he goes, my friend's just got a drink, is it okay, just, a reasonable amount of time, can I just stay while they're finishing their drinks? And she said, that's fine. She said, but, after that, you guys gotta go when they're done with their drinks. Well, it wasn't until after the police came and looked at the cameras, after looking at a few different views, where they noticed that, when she wasn't looking, a couple times he went over and took a couple sips of her drink, and there may have been, one time where she ordered a couple shots, and he was drinking a soda, where again, the bartender wasn't looking, like allowing them to finish their drinks, where he may have even taken the shot or whatever. And I think that's when they started to really act up and so forth, and that's when she noticed it, and that's right when Mike and Julie got to the bar, and that's when she was like, okay, that's no more nonsense, no more, I wanna finish my drink, or can I wait for my friends, or anything like that. That's when she's like, you need to get basically the heck out of this bar. And that's when it escalated.
Okay.
And they have it on camera for her asking to, where's your ID? And him not being able to provide it, and then she went from there.
Okay, do you have a time frame at all?
I don't know what the exact minutes were off the top of my head. I didn't realize I would need to know the exact minutes.
5 minutes or a half hour?
More like a half hour, yeah. And I think at one point they had even left, and the bartender figured, okay, they left, and went out in the parking lot to do whatever they were doing, I'm assuming like what Julie was saying, and then kind of wandered back in again. I think this when they wandered back in the second time, that's when the bartender saw him, and I think that's when she started to have a bigger issue, like, you guys, you need to get out of here, like, it's enough nonsense. Like, rather than being common sense, friendly to somebody, like, okay, that's fine, but you gotta leave, as soon as they're done with their drink, then it became, now you guys are trying to hang around, and this is nonsense, and you're causing problems, and that's when she got loud and was trying to get them more sternly out of the bar, to the point where she was getting, yelling with them and so forth.
And there are only 2 drinks served to the bartender's knowledge, 1 to each adult, one each person.
And that's what it was, that's what they led her to believe, correct?
So she was under the impression somebody was purchasing 2 drinks for both people that were of age, and there was a third person that was underage
Yep.
that was coming in and.
That we later realized after, like I said, I feel like I'm just going in a circle repeating myself, yes. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's exactly right.
Make sure I got it in my head.
Okay, you're just repeating it back to me, okay. Otherwise, I'm just gonna repeat the same thing.
No, I'm just, yeah.
Yep.
Make sure I got it in my head.
All right.
And like I said, just to reemphasize one more time, whatever these three individuals were doing, they were doing a lot of something, and they were doing it before they ever came to my establishment. And then, when it came time for them to leave, when people, like, such as these two, noticed their obvious, like, there's a problem going on with these people, and when she threatened to call the police on them, take a picture of their license plate, take a picture of their car, I'm gonna call the cops on you, that's when the female flipped out and said, why are you harassing my friends, they don't need that kind of nonsense. And this is after they tried to offer them an Uber, anywhere reasonably you guys wanna go in Racine, the two of these they were like, we'll pay for your Uber, we do not want you to drive. Short of tackling these people and assaulting them, they literally couldn't get them to stop doing what they did. And then they did, like I said, and it's like she said, they diverted her attention, the female diverted her attention, and that's when the two males switched and zipped out of the parking lot like maniacs.
I can also add that I've talked to a decent amount of people who have had a couple of drinks or more than a couple of drinks. She wasn't drunk. Like, I didn't ever spoke to the men, but I can tell you the girl was definitely more than, had alcohol. Like, she was irrational and erratic in her behavior. It was ridiculous.
Thank you. Alder Trillian?
Yeah, thank you. Just for clarity, I know you just went through and felt like you had to keep repeating, but, so I apologize, but I caught something, and if you could just help me out. You mentioned that, the lady went up and bought the couple drinks for her friend, and then, you also said, watching the surveillance, that you saw, like, shots and then soda as well. Was she purchasing those shots?
I don't know if he bought the soda, I mean, but the
Yeah,
shot.
but you mentioned about the shots, there are shots, purchased.
I thought maybe when you guys were looking at the, was there a shot? There may not even been a shot, I don't even recall.
I would have to be up there to
Oh.
take any questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that it was sent to me by somebody,
Okay.
honestly.
Okay,
Like
so you
speaking
just
with the
kind of,
police officer, yeah.
and then if you could help set the scene in my mind a little bit, I know it was mentioned, about you having off-duty officers who work at your establishment. Were they working that evening as well?
This was 7 o'clock on a Tuesday.
That's
night.
what I figured. And then, but I didn't want to assume.
Right.
And, I know that, Miss Julie Johnson was coming after some type of bar league. So is this typically a league night? Is it a full house? Was there a league going on
Well,
at your establishment?
Well, it depends, I mean, we might have, if it rains that night, there's no softball games.
Yeah, well,
If
just
it's nice outside,
specifically for this.
there might be two teams that come in, sometimes the teams don't come in.
Can you speak very specifically to the night
To
in
this
question?
this specific night, our team only had 2 people show up, me and my husband.
Okay.
Just because everybody else had something going on. The other team, that plays on Tuesday nights for softball, they had approximately 7 to 8 people in the bar at that time, all having their dinner and drinks after their game. And then while we were in the process of removing these people, the volleyball team also came in. So yes, and there was pool leagues going on as well. So yeah, it was a pretty full bar that evening.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you for that. So it sounds like they were kind of rolling in. It sounds like he had already been in the establishment for a while, because that incident of where your bartender already had got the drinks and already had mentioned, checking the ID or not having one had already taken place. You came in kind of once all that had been established and some erratic behavior had started to display.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, we didn't see any of the actual behavior in the bar other than on the video footage, because we were entering as he was getting kicked out. So we kind of mostly just dealt with him outside the bar.
Okay,
yeah, that
thanks
was
for
the
the
point,
clarity.
basically, when the point of a reasonable amount of time, and again, we're talking 7, 8 o'clock on a Sunday night, we're not talking about 1 in the morning letting someone hang out in the bar on Saturday night where there's 100 people in the bar, there's nothing like that.
Mhm.
I think once it had gotten to the point where, again, common sense where enough was enough, and that's when the bartender, like, got angry, and there was no more being, nice and treating somebody, a little bit more fair, if you will. Like, she could realize that the nonsense was just nonsense with this group of people who were, like I said, had showed up, I don't know, half inebriated and high and whatever else their problems were, whatever, and she'd had enough of their nonsense.
And he wasn't easily leaving the bar either.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we got these ones. Yeah, that's all right. She made it clear for us.
so maybe just one last,
Yes.
I feel like we just kind of beat a moment and, just keep trying to, but I just want to extract as much detail as possible. So to me, where the incident, really plays out is it really at that initial point. For me, I understand that a lot of chaos and a lot of things happened once outside the establishment. You know, my mind is really trying to fixate on what's going on the inside and how things got started. You mentioned that your bartender had an expired license at the time. How long had she been bartending for you?
How long has she bartended for me?
Mhm.
A couple of years.
Okay. And then, do we know when the expiration of her liquor, or her bartending license, that happened June and July? Or is that
They
different?
expire every other year,
Okay.
at the end of end of June.
Yeah,
With the
and I didn't realize that
bartender.
she didn't have hers re-upped. I thought all the employees had theirs re-upped, and she had not.
Okay, we can, if New could finish that statement,
Sorry.
so,
Yes,
yeah,
we would have to get the name of the bartender and check when it expired. I have no idea.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Follow up on that, but I don't have that information in front of me, and Naomi doesn't have her name either, so.
Okay, so it could be, this year, June, or last year, June,
Right,
if it,
or
because it's
the year
every other
before.
year. So, are you even privy on that year date, or just
It was-
the
it
month?
was here.
Thank you, that was it. Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Alderman Peterson.
Question, I don't think I'll ask it now, but for clarification,
We can have the police officers up at the end after we finish here, then, all right? Anybody else have questions for these two representing the licensee right now? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to submit an email that came to, the clerk early this morning. She said it's up to you if you want to present it or read it.
I think we all received that through email too for public.
Okay, so this is this is, yes,
From all the
Yes.
routes, he was,
Okay, yeah.
out there at the time.
yep, got it. Okay,
And there was the second section of it, the person.
Is that a submission from a former alderman, there you said?
yes, yes,
And a resident, it looks like a resident.
yep, okay, no. Thank you. All right, Alderco, you had a question?
So, so can people come in there, it's a restaurant too, so you have people coming in there underage, or do they all have to be 21 to go into there?
When it's, let's say, you know, the afternoon, when it's, like parental and so forth, we allow it.
Right. But I guess my question being then, why was this guy allowed to stay in there so long? That was,
I guess, look, in hindsight, I hate repeating the same words all the
I
time.
get it, but,
Fair common sense. When someone says, oh, you know, I don't have my ID, oh, you know, you gotta go. Well, can I at least just stay till my friends finish their drink? It's not it's not a crazy person, you know, making that request, and a crazy person, you know, saying that it's okay within reason. A person is not allowed to just come strolling in and just hang out, like, do you have an ID? No, but I'm just gonna go shoot some pool for a while. Like, that's, behavior like that, never, 100% of the time is that not allowed.
okay.
Yeah, this is a specific instance that because of the end result, makes it seem like the beginning was so much more egregious than what it was. I mean, if these guys, you know, aren't out getting high and smoking crack or whatever they're doing somewhere else, and then caused this accident by going the wrong way down Durand Avenue, we're not here having this conversation. It's the end result of what led to this, but there's so much more on their end, so much more than our end. People just can't just stroll in. You know, there's not groups of 20-year-olds that just come in and decide they want to sit down and have a drink. It's not like that at all.
The people who are buying legally, did they have just one round of drinks, or did they have multiple rounds of drinks?
I think they had two.
2 rounds of drinks? I'm a little confused that you're saying this is a reasonable person, yeah, let him stay a little bit longer, but you're also saying he was high before he ever came in. I'm a little
We
confused with the
found that out
inconsistent.
afterwards when the police spoke to them.
No, so he,
They got that out of the lady
So-
that they were with, that
so-
was
so
down,
it was
that
not-
down to the cracks. I think they got that kind of information out of her.
it was not your perception at the time that that was the case then, okay? City Attorney?
I just wanted to clarify on Alder Cole's point. So just so you know, the state law does require any person to be on the premises to be over 21, or 21 or over. So there are very few exceptions as to when a person can enter a place that has a Class B license. If they are under the age of 21, one of those exceptions being if the premises operates principally as a restaurant, and because this is a bar, it is presumed to operate as a bar and a tavern, so no person under 21 may enter the premises, whether it's at lunchtime and they're just serving lunch, it's still a bar, so that is still illegal under state law.
To clarify that though, there is the gray parental areas, or not though?
Right, so
Okay.
the
I'm not saying
restriction
this applies in this instance, but I just wanna make sure that's.
right, it does not apply. So an
Right.
underage person not accompanied by his parent, guardian, or spouse who hasn't attained the legal drinking age may not enter the premises.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, I mean, this is actually good information for myself. When you say it operates more strictly as a bar than a restaurant, we have a full kitchen. What would change in the classification of that?
So your license application states the amount of alcohol that you serve in comparison with the amount of alcohol, or in comparison with the amount of food. Based on your application, you are presumed to be a bar because you do serve more alcohol than food. The state law does presume that any business that serves alcohol to be a bar unless you can prove that more of your profits come from food. And there are some details to that, but that can be found under Wisconsin statute 125.07.
Any other questions? Okay, at this point, I think we'd like to bring up the officer as well then, so Officer Gulliver, could you please come up and give your perspective?
Did you still need Julie?
No,
I mean,
No,
it's
well,
fine.
you- no, you're the one we really need, honestly, in the long run here, Julie, if you, thank you for adding the color to it, Julie.
Can you repeat that statute again?
Can we get that statute, please?
You don't need access to it.
Okay, so I'm,
Can we get that statute number, please?
Yep, it's 125.07, sub 3.
so I'm gonna ask you to step down at this point and let this gentleman go ahead, and so, he's got the chair at this point for a while here then. Do I have to swear in an officer?
You don't have to.
But we-
You can't.
But we will for consistency's sake here. Do you swear that everything you're about to tell us is the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Could you give us your perspective on what your investigation has resulted in?
Sure, absolutely. I was, called into assist with a personal injury crash on Durand Avenue, where it was later learned that the individual was at, Doobie's prior to the crash. Part of our crash investigation is to gather evidence, and we believed he was under the influence of alcohol at the time. Part of that is to, gather video surveillance, whether it be of the crash or the individual consuming alcohol. I obviously couldn't turn my head to the fact that he was 20 years old at the time of the crash. I went and I reviewed the surveillance video. I do want to touch on the citations that were issued because there are some information floating around that may not be accurate. The citations that were issued to Mr. Dubiak was the underage person on premise, and the citation issued to the bartender was the operator's license. There was a sale of alcohol to a minor citation issued, but our ordinance allows that citation to be issued to either the bartender or to the person that was providing or procured it for the underage person. So in this case, I did issue the sale of alcohol citation to the female subject that completed the transactions that ordered the drinks, because that was evident on the surveillance video. There was a question earlier about what the beverages consumed. He initially took 2 shots, I believe it was Tullamore Dew whiskey, according to the bartender, and then there were also 2 Jack and Cokes. The Jack and Cokes were, all of the drinks were placed in front of the female. The transaction was conducted by the female. I saw her hand over her credit card, I believe her credit card. And then whether or not the bartender was looking, I'm not sure. But then the individual took the 2 shots, helped himself to one of the drinks from in front of the in front of the female, and then later on, as he was inside the establishment, he had finished his drink and poured approximately half of hers into his cup. Yes.
According to your interpretation, what took place, he had 2 shots and 1.5 drinks?
Correct. Yeah, happy to take it, and I'm sorry, I wanted to touch on too with the initial entrance of the bar. He did enter the bar. I did not see any transfer of identification, but again, there's no audio on the surveillance video, so I can't hear what was said. But he did remain, that's why I issued the underage person on premise, he did remain in the establishment for quite some time. And actually left for approximately 15 minutes and then also came back and stayed in for a little while.
Was he challenged for ID on the way in?
There was no person working the door, no.
Okay, thank you. Alder Peterson, please carry on.
Your investigation, you guys obviously you do a drug and alcohol, correct? Okay. Are you able to share what the alcohol percentage was and if there was any other drugs in the system?
The laboratory that we use is running on quite a backlog. They said 3 months from the time of submission. It was submitted out the next day. As far as I know, we have not received that back. And unfortunately, the drug results, it was sent for alcohol and drugs, but the drug results are 10 months from the date of the alcohol, 13 months.
Oh, my goodness.
Can't do anything you want to.
I do have a question, if you...
Yes, Alder Caprellian?
Okay, just a few questions. Can you, for clarity, how much time lapse from the point of entry did you see, and then the time span drinking?
So is it okay if I do have the times outlined in my
Yeah,
report? Is
perfect.
it okay if I reference the report?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, please do.
So the defendant in the crash case entered the establishment with a female companion at 19:38 hours, so 7:38 p.m. They both took a seat at the bar at approximately 7:39. Again, it appeared she placed the order for shots and mixed drinks and provides her credit card for payment. The bartender placed the shots in front of the of-age female. She then passes 2 of the shots directly to the underage male. He also ordered 2 mixed drinks. The defendant in the crash case took a few sips of the mixed drinks and 2 shots at approximately 19:42, so approximately 4 minutes after entering. He continues to sip the mixed drinks for a period of time after taking the shots. At approximately 8:02, the of-age female poured some of her mixed drink into the defendant's empty cup. At 8:03 p.m., so 20:03, both of them exit the establishment with their beverages in hand and eventually enter his vehicle in the parking lot. They re-enter the establishment at approximately 8:18, so they were outside in his vehicle from 8:03 until 8:18, and he left at 8:50 p.m.
Is there any more drinks in that half hour that he came back in for?
There is not, but I believe the gentleman alluded to it, that he wasn't exactly cooperative towards the end, and it was a difficult situation in the parking lot. He was quite aggressive.
Thank you. Follow on?
Yep. So the way that you just laid that out, it put the picture in my head is that they sat at the bar the whole time, not like a side table. There's quite a bit of tables in that establishment, but it is at the bar.
So
Came in, sat down.
The initial ordering of the drinks did take place at the bar. They did hang in that area for a little bit of time, but a lot of the incident takes place near the dartboard, and they are moving around in the establishment.
Okay. You did mention so they came in at 7:38, and then when he took the shots, that was at just 7:42, a few minutes later, where he took a sip, and then where she poured in his cup was just at 8:02. So that was at the bar.
The pouring of the the pouring of the drink it took place away from the bar.
Okay.
But the
So-
taking of the shots and the sips of the mixed drink took place at the bar.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Yes, Jeff?
There's a third person here, I hear you're talking of two.
So he did come in later, as far as I can, I've interviewed all the subjects at the hospital. He doesn't remember much, doesn't remember being at the establishment, and he was, back up, he was the passenger in the vehicle going the wrong way. Didn't remember much, couldn't tell me the name of the operator. It is my understanding that they had no previous connection for this incident.
Reviewing of the tape, you see that third person in there?
He does come into the bar.
Does he order his own drinks, or is he just gonna hang out?
I believe the female ordered him food and also ordered drinks for him, but he was of age.
I haven't heard where that third person, there.
He came in approximately, I'd say 15, 20 minutes, maybe even a half hour later.
Further questions from anyone else for the officer? May I offer Mr. Dubiak the chance to come back up and answer any questions that he may have at this point? That's what I'd like to do at this point. Pardon?
That's your discussion.
Mr. Dubiak, would you like to come back up and, give your perspective on anything particular that the officer had to say here? Thanks. This is your time. Do you have any?
I'd just be repeating over and over.
Okay.
In hindsight, I mean, obviously, you know, first of all, I wish the accident would have never happened, leaving anybody's bar or leaving someone's house, of course. For me personally, it's unfortunate it happened leaving my business. Again, in hindsight, I guess I wish the bartender would have been a little bit more hasty with not allowing her to stay in there, I mean, at all. But like I said, when Ms. Johnson was up here before, I mean, I had, you know, thankfully, I mean, it didn't work out, but, I mean, it had concerned patrons, just citizens who, short of assaulting them and tackling them in a parking lot, threatened to call the police on them, begged them to take an Uber, like, please don't drive it, and I believe she even said to him, well, you're gonna kill somebody driving, you can't be, you know, I don't want you guys driving. And the guy who was of age, initially, like when Julie said, he initially was the one that was in the driver's seat. And when the female kind of diverted her attention away, that's when the two of them switched, and that's when the underage guy jumped in the car and slipped out of the parking lot.
Okay.
I wish they never would've came into my bar. I wish they wouldn't have been drinking. I wish they wouldn't have been smoking whatever they were smoking. I wish they would've accepted the Uber. I wish bartender would've immediately gotten them out and not tried to be reasonable to somebody and have all this happen in the long run.
I'd like to be clear, is there anything that, you dispute from the officer's report, or is that all?
I don't think, well, anything that's cut and dried, black and white from videotape is,
Okay.
you know, it is what it is, as far as times and so forth go. I guess the shots part, I mean, it wasn't, even though, and you can even see, on the video, even the shots, they weren't like they were purchased, and then she just went like this, and then he went like that right in front of the bartender. It wasn't like that. But, you know, obviously, it's, you know, they're splitting hairs a little bit on that one, but.
Yep, all right,
I have a
Alderman Jerry.
question, regarding the bartender, is she in the process of like renewing that license that was expired?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Dubiak at this point? All right, thanks. You can step back down for the moment then? Thank you. All right. Discussion, motion, we probably should have a motion to discuss officially here then, so.
Let me ask what the options are at this point.
That's perfect, perfectly fine, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
City Attorney's Office, can you give us the range of options?
So because this is considered the first call-in, because the last call-in occurred in 2019, that was rescinded, it's been more than a year. The appropriate action might be to receive and file, which would keep the incident on record. It would count as a strike against them. If nothing else occurred within a 6-month time period, they would be called back in front of the committee, and due process would take place at that time. The committee can also decide to rescind the expression of concern if it believes that it was not properly issued in the first place or that it was a mistake. The other option would be to deter if you wanted to obtain any more information. You could also refer this matter to a Good Neighbors meeting if you believe that there are more issues to be discussed that would be fruitful with the police department or with any other department.
Thank you for that.
I would just ask for some clarity on one.
Absolutely.
Thank you. The one where you would refer to a Good Neighbors meeting, does that then classify as a receive and file or rescinding the concern?
So if you wanted to refer to a Good Neighbors meeting, I would ask for a motion to receive and file with the recommendation that they attend a Good Neighbors meeting. But again, if you do that, you should clarify the issues to be discussed at the Good Neighbors meeting.
And then one more clarity, if you don't mind. From my understanding, this establishment has been there for a while, and I know the Good Neighbors meetings have been something of more recent time, so I'm just going to assume, unless you tell me differently, this is, although in 2019 they did get called in, have they ever partaked in a Good Neighbors meeting before?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy to make a motion for discussion's sake.
Please do.
All right. I'm going to make a motion to receive and file and refer to a Good Neighbors meeting for Doobie's Beer Joint.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and proper second. Discussion.
For this Good Neighbors meeting, is it just the owner, or will the bartender need to attend as well? I know she must be powerful because it's a very tragic incident, and hopefully she won't make that mistake again, but that's a very serious mistake, especially because she's been doing it for a long time. So, something.
Normally it's the attorney's office, the police department, and the owner. I'm not sure if for instances, owners may have partners alongside them. I'm not sure if they're bartenders, but usually it's for the owner, the attorney's office, and then the police department. And it's a good way to have, I don't think there's ever a good opportunity just to kind of go back and forth in a more open, casual setting to say, hey, from the bar owner's perspective, I'm having these concerns, what suggestions do you have? Or what's going on in the community? The police department may say, we've been having a lot of gun crimes lately, is there some things you can do to step up because we're seeing this? I'm just throwing examples out there. And then the attorney, of course, with what the laws are. I happened to notice when one of the Wisconsin statutes were read, another bar owner wrote it down. It's really good for the bar owners because they are the ones who have to they're being held up to those statutes. And that's why I really am pushing for this Good Neighbors meeting so it can be refreshed on the things that they have to do their due diligence on. It shouldn't be us that are doing the due diligence. It is them for getting that privilege license to have that type of establishment in our community. So
to be clear here, your motion to receive and file indicates that you are concerned about the 2 citations issued inside of facilities then, correct?
I am concerned that a Wisconsin state statute, it was known that there was a 20-year-old inside the establishment, and that very second of knowledge, it was then still allowed. And Wisconsin state law does not allow, even if you're just, being a kind individual, you have an establishment that requires you to uphold the law.
Okay.
And so that is my concern, and also that we have a bartender who did not have her license up to date at the time as well.
Thank you. Further discussion from anyone else? Alder Coe.
I guess, the Good Neighbors meeting, I guess to me it would be a good idea for the bartender to go in and listen to this because first off, her license expired, and then, listening what's going on and how serious this is. Probably a great bartender and all, but, lapses in memory like that, you can't let this continue on.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
I don't know if this can be addressed in this format or not, but in this incident with her having her license not having a license, operating with, does this affect her ability to get a new license? How does this affect her ability to get a new license with this incident? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, and if it's not, now is not a good format, that's fine, now's
If
not
you
the
could just
time.
give me one moment to look up the qualifications, I don't remember if that's one of the qualifying
You don't think so?
factors. I don't believe it is.
I did have just a couple more comments.
Please, Alder
That's
Carillion.
So, just my argument again, really pushing that Good Neighbors meeting as well. This establishment has been around for a while. It sounds like there's a lot of recreation that is happening, so a lot of people are committed to that space. There must be a certain environment that's being offered that, people are being drawn to want them to represent them. So, with that level of, relationship that's being formed by, I'm assuming, community members, we want that to extend even, past that. We want the community to know that they can respect Doobies when they go to Doobies, and part of that is being able to be at peace, understanding that the laws are being upheld, and that, we don't have to worry, in a sense, about that end of things. Other things come out of it, as we know. When you have alcohol, there's a lot of manipulative behavior, and some things that maybe somebody of normal, not intoxicated mind may not carry out that type of behavior. So there is a responsibility with that. And when that gets broken, and I've seen it time and time again in past public and safety licensing meetings where whole neighborhoods have been scarred, that places after 10 years have tried to reopen with different owners that have sat vacant for 10 years, and that neighborhood still is scarred. So we want to make sure that whatever Doobies is doing right, doing good, that it can continue, and we're showing the community that there's this extra level of follow-up and due diligence and remorse from the situation, that it can heal and that it can continue to be respectable, and people still have that draw to want to partake in that type of entertainment or establishment.
Any further discussion? So as chair, I think my comment would be, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to address Alder Peterson's question. So, under the new guidelines that were recently passed by the committee, a person does not qualify for an operator's license if they have violations within the past 2 years for serving an underage person. I believe in this case, the operator or the bartender was cited with not having a license rather than serving an underage person, so she would not be disqualified. So there's nothing under the new guidelines that would disqualify her, even if she were convicted of what she has been cited with in this case from obtaining a license.
Point of clarity, I thought the investigator did say sale of alcohol to a minor was issued to the bartender. No, it was issued to the establishment?
The patrons who get
I was confused with that too.
Okay,
The purchaser.
Am I able to speak on that?
yeah, could you
Please,
bring...
please clarify what you said.
In my judgment, in reviewing the surveillance video, the of-age female conducted the transaction. And she purchased the beverages and then subsequently passed them to the underage person. And that the ordinance that I cited allows us to, you can cite the bartender if she, in my judgment, sold to the underage person, but, it also allows us to cite somebody that gives away or procures for another person.
Thank you for that, appreciate it.
As chair, I want to remind everybody that what we're talking about is what happened inside the bar. We would be looking at this no matter what the consequences were outside the bar.
Absolutely.
Person happened to make it home, if this person took an Uber, there's still violations inside the bar, and that's what we're looking at right now. We want to ensure that those don't happen again, and I think a good way to bring that to the attention of the owner is to receive and file this motion. For clarity's sake, before we vote, to receive and file this means that the expression of concern is staying on record, and it will remain on record per how the city attorney's office explained that. And additional violations in the near future could cause more issues with the license. So, are we all clear on the motion and the implications of the motion?
If we can just reiterate it, that it is 6 months, so the bar, owner does understand that.
we please cite the implications of the first and any future
Yes.
expressions of
So,
concern?
2 formal expression concerns within a 6-month period, or 3 within a 1-year period. So technically, you could wait 9 months and have.
And then
2
for
formal
clarity, 6
expressions.
months from the incident or 6 months from today?
From the date that the formal expression was issued, which would have been the last PSNL meeting when the vote was taken.
All right, we're all clear on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Want to thank everybody for being here. I know this is a difficult subject. Thank our officer for the investigation. I'd like to thank the licensee and his, recreation participants as well. And so, thank you very much, and nothing personal, but I hope not to see you back here anytime soon.
Back at you. Thank you for being fair.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Okay. All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
I think the resident that lives in the area was here, but I didn't know.
Did anybody sign up for public comment to my knowledge here?
No, but we don't even have it on the agenda listed, yeah.
Okay.
So I just wanted to let you know.
All right. Back to the agenda. 677-22, communication requesting that the appearance of Troy Munoz for an operator's license. So, Mr. Munoz, give us just a minute here. We're gonna have the city attorney explain why you're here then, all right? That's okay. Trying to do multiple things. So we have Mr. Munoz with us, for his operator's license, and there were some concerns about the application, or?
So, this is before you because the results of the background check came back. It looks like he did have, a false statement on his license application involving a misdemeanor or felony conviction within the past 10 years, so he is disqualified, based on the false statement. I don't know his criminal record, so you'd have to.
I don't know, that's not what I did. I never did.
So is this based on the 2021 disorderly conduct and the 2020 OWR? That's what's in the paperwork in front of me?
Give me a moment, I can search for it, but again, he is disqualified based on the false statement rather than the actual conviction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it was a felony because then he would also be disqualified under guideline number 2, which is a felony conviction. So it must have been a misdemeanor conviction that he had within the past 10 years, even though he stated that he had never been convicted of an offense.
Mr. Munoz, if,
That portion right there, that was an oversight by me, because I was filling it up fast in the clerk's office. All I seen was felony, and I asked the person who was with me, who has her bar license, I said, I haven't had no felonies at all. She goes, well, if you had no felonies, you just checked no on it. So that was my fault. I didn't know, the misdemeanor, disorderly conduct, I paid a fine for that, and I didn't know that was a misdemeanor. I thought that was just like a ticket for disorderly conduct, and I paid that a fine. I was not trying to hide anything. And I was sent a letter, with the paperwork you guys sent me, said to get a note for a letter from my bar manager or bar owner stating that she's aware of the issues, and that, which I submitted to the clerk last Thursday.
oh, I didn't see that. Do we have that?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, I apologize. Thank you. Okay.
My manager, Jennifer.
Yep, see that, thank you.
Question?
Yes, Alder Peterson.
What was that disorderly conduct for?
We're being noisy at the house.
What house?
Yes.
Thanks. Missed that somehow.
No, I got,
Please.
you've been bartending without a license?
No, I've been cooking, but I haven't been bartending.
I was in there.
There was a licensed bartender on staff also in there too.
As long as there's a licensed bartender. Okay, hang on.
I know the rules.
Okay.
Remember you serving me and you making the food. I don't remember anybody else back there.
Jennifer was in the building.
Sure.
Jennifer's always there.
Okay.
All right, any other questions at this point? So where we stand right now is the clerk's office has disqualified Mr. Munoz because of the paperwork concerns here regarding his background check. And we have the right as a committee, if I understand properly, City Attorney, to uphold that refusal of the bartender's license, or to still allow it based on the evidence provided, which is his testimony as well as the letter from his manager. Is that correct?
Right, based on the finding that there's good cause for the false statement.
All right, so, discussion?
I'm usually kind of a hard nose on some of these, but this one I'm a little bit different on because, I mean, it happened, something that happened at his house. And some of the other ones we've seen were a lot more egregious than this, and having the letter come from the owner of the establishment, or the manager of the establishment. You know, he came forward with this, he came prepared to the meeting and for, supporting this license.
I mean, Doug Nicholson is aware of it, he's the owner of the establishment, he's aware, because Jen's talked to him about it too. So he gave the approval for her to hire me, because I've known Doug for quite a while, and he trusts me.
Okay, thank you. Alder Caprellian?
Yeah, this one's a hard one because we just went and spent extensive time on redoing and taking a look at our guidelines. And there has been so much inconsistency from this committee on what's before us, that we tried to establish some form of consistency. And under our guidelines, as it was stated, because the material that we received or that was filled out was falsified, that would be a disqualification. So, to me, that's kind of, it's spoken. And if we're looking for consistency on this committee, we need to just do that, be consistent. I understand that there is variations and there's always a story, but that has the part that we hear a story every time. And, you know, sometimes we accept the story, sometimes we don't, and I understand that's to our discretion, but then it just brings up too much discrepancy that I'm not comfortable with. I understand that, and to me, what is on the record and what you did, that I'm not even thinking about that. I'm not judging you on that, and to me, it's just that the paperwork that we ask everyone to fill out, which is very clear, was just not done, honestly, is how I will word that. So, with that, I don't feel comfortable. I understand, and I'm so grateful that you did look at your options and you did have a manager write and vouch for you. That speaks volumes. I'm glad that she does that, has done that for you. However, there still is this piece, and I go back to the many hours that this committee has sat here on this very guideline right here. We talked about this one extensively because this is the area where we see so much discrepancy, so.
Like I said, I didn't know that the disorderly conduct was a misdemeanor. I thought it was a ticket, because I paid a ticket fine for it. That's all I thought it was.
Yep.
I didn't know it was a misdemeanor. Honestly, I didn't.
Yep.
Because I've never been in trouble with the law except for the driving while revoked of trying to get to work, and my girlfriend got sick, and I drove my car.
Understood. Other discussion? City Attorney's Office, if this, rejection of the license is upheld, would Mr. Munoz apply again?
You can apply again in 1 year.
So that'd be for the cycle coming next June, basically, then, or?
1 year for the date of the denial.
Okay. All right, thank you. Vice Chair, a motion is in order?
This is a hard one. I'm gonna stick to our guidelines and ordinance, and it is going to be a disqualification, per guideline number 7, providing material false statement regarding a misdemeanor or felony conviction in the last 10 years.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to uphold the disqualification based on false information on the application.
I'll just, if you wouldn't mind, just discussion on that motion
I'd
a little
like
bit.
to ask for discussion.
Okay. Beating you.
Anybody except Alderman Caprellian? Alderman Caprellian, please.
Yeah, so, we have seen a lot more, I'm not sure what, word to use, but, where crimes are quite extensive, and the lists have been a lot longer than this gentleman has presented. And that's one thing, I'm not sure that it wasn't listed when we put together this guidelines, and nor probably it should be, because then we start, well, what kind of offense? But the number of offenses and, the legitimacy of maybe rehabilitation or whatever it may be. But, and then with this letter, so I do believe that he comes before us prepared, to, definitely, stake his character and his claim. But I just want this committee to know that my motion so much isn't so on that, so however you wish to vote, please just understand, I just come from trying to be consistent. I want to be consistent with the applications that come before us, because I think it sets a precedence on this and out to the community for those who are applying for a bartender license. There has been so much inconsistency that we were seeing a lot of these before us often. So I just want to make sure that we set that standard for consistency. That is where this motion comes from, not so much with what the gentleman has brought before us.
Alderman Coe?
This is a renewal also, just so you know, isn't it?
This was a renewal. I got a question, new. If you would've answered that truthfully, this would not have even been an issue, am I correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Alder Peterson? Question, or just struggling?
Struggling because it is a renewal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alder Coe?
So, you got renewed 2 years ago, and this was already would have been on there, am I correct?
2 years ago was the first one I got.
You're right, but
Yes.
you,
I filled that one out at home. I filled it out at home. I had more time to do it. When I came in to fill it out over here, I came in just before the clerk's office was closing, and I did it really fast right there at the clerk's office. And that was my oversight right there. I just didn't think about, misdemeanor being disorderly conduct.
oh no, I'm asking that for a reason, because that one goes
I would've
back.
said, if I knew the misdemeanor was the disorderly conduct was a misdemeanor, I would've definitely checked yes. I wouldn't have checked no.
Well, the question is, have you ever been convicted of any offenses, not misdemeanors?
It said, after I read it again, it said misdemeanor/felony.
Have you ever been convicted of any offenses?
Yes, I've had a ticket for the disorderly conduct, and I got the OWR.
Right, I think that's what the question is. So even if you didn't know it was a misdemeanor, you should have still checked yes, because you were convicted of an offense.
That's just an oversight by me.
I have a question.
Yes, Alder Jerry.
Also, Alder Cole, so if the 2020 was on there, 2 years ago, and he was still issued a license, the bartender license, even with the OWR on there? That's what the,
Yeah, that's was my, because that would have been back at that time.
Well, we don't know.
Licenses.
Yeah.
Pardon?
What's that?
Sounds like it happened between licenses.
Yeah,
Oh.
Head license, then the two
okay,
issues came up.
yeah.
That's my understanding, timeframe wise, right?
That's
Had a
my,
license for 2 years, trying to renew it in 2022, it became an issue.
I don't have the actual record in front of me, so I don't know when the conviction took place, but it sounds like Mr. Munoz is indicating that when he filled out the original application, he did check that he was convicted of an offense, therefore there's no false statement at that time.
is that true, Mr.
At that
Munoz?
time, I had a DUI in Ozark County at that time, from a few years back, so I did check it, but it didn't show. I pulled up my stuff on CCAS, and I didn't see anything for this sort of, drunk driving anymore, 'cause that thing's been resolved behind me. I don't drive anymore, all I do is do my only job, my only employment, otherwise I collect unemployment. So I just left, Home Depot.
If I may, I'm not sure this necessarily comes into consideration. You've been working there cooking since you haven't had a license here. Is that a continued employment, or is that
No, I'm gonna
employment?
be terminated.
Not necessarily relevant, but it does provide some color, I guess, is how I'd phrase that.
Mark,
Yes, please, Alder Peterson.
you said in your original application, you put down the OWI, the driving?
Yes.
We don't have that record, I assume, to confirm that, if this is taking his word at this point then.
Unfortunately, it does not appear in Munis, and because the city clerk's office filled out the cover sheet.
Okay,
I-
okay.
We were never sent the record.
We don't have, okay. All right.
Thank you.
So, as of now, the motion in front of us is to accept the denial of this license by the clerk for false statements. Ready to vote on that? I think we'll do a roll call on this one, going right across here then. Alder Coe?
No.
Alder Caprellian?
Aye.
Alder Jarrett?
Aye.
Alder Peterson?
No.
Chair votes no.
A new motion?
Therefore,
You have to make a new motion?
this motion fails. We need a fresh motion.
Motion to approve.
Let's clarify that motion, rather than just approve.
Motion to approve his bartender's license.
I think I'd like to say motion to override the clerk's recommendation and approve the license then, if you,
Okay, then I'm good with that.
Jeff, you okay with seconding that one?
Yep.
I guess we're gonna have the same we'll do a roll call again on that. Any further discussion on it?
No.
Alder Coe?
Aye.
Alder Caprellian?
No.
No.
Chair votes aye. Okay, so at the next meeting then, at the
No,
city,
he can pick up his,
no, at,
he can.
oh, that, wait for city council meeting for this one at all? Okay,
Well,
thank
the
you.
city clerk's in there, ask them when you can have your license ready.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
The second chance.
Good luck.
Appreciate your coming in and sitting through a lot of stuff after a meeting started later than you
I
expected.
know Kevin really well, too, he's a good friend of mine.
Oh.
All right.
I learned a lot since I listened to all that. Yes.
That, I'm sure he's learned that. Thank you. We are on 676-22. Public safety and licensing reports from the last meeting that we adjourned before we received and filed the reports. Before we move forward on those, though, wasn't there one item on there that, I think, follow-up information on, top 10, anything along those lines, as to whether we wanted to actually proceed with that one or not? So, any observations from your side, Sergeant?
I actually did personally stop in there, and they do have an updated license, so I don't know what the officer saw that night when they went in there, but, again, I went in there personally, talked to I forget his name,
Okay.
he's the agent or the owner, but he did show me a valid, operator's license.
Okay.
That's not the reason.
Alder Coe?
That wasn't the reason why I wanted to call them in. So when they came to us, he voluntarily said, we're gonna be closing at 12:30. That is still on the license, and they're staying open till bar time. They would need to come back to us, and I've talked to the owner a few times, and I still drive by there. I mean, there has been an issue, but the thing is, that if a police officer went in there and saw that because the hours are now posted on the license, they could be cited for being open, without being open at the right times and stuff. So that was my concern, and I guess I wanna call them in to say, hey, you gotta follow the rules or else.
I don't have that full report in front of me, and I'm not connected here. Were any of the events with top 10 after their hours that indicated they were beyond their closing hours?
They do have officers working there on weekends. The old warning track, 1301, Washington Avenue.
Top 10 was at, one was at 10:45, and then it looks like they went back in there at 11:21. Yeah. So 11:21 PM is when they went back in there to check on the license.
The license.
All right, so Alder Coe, we have your observation here, but we have no police reports consistent with
No,
the observation.
but you could ask the officers that work there that they are working past the 12:30 timeframe. I guess I would like to get clarification. I asked the city clerk's office, and they told me that they're supposed to be closed at 12:30.
Sergeant
They
Ortiz.
would have to come in and talk to us about extending the hours.
Sergeant, can we request a visit post hours at some point here, and confirming whether they are open or not?
I can let the third shift, shift commander know.
Okay, is that acceptable?
Yeah, but it's not like they're, having problems, but, he knows, I mean, that if something happens, it could cause a big problem for him. That's my concern.
All right.
Because he worked hard to get open, and I don't wanna see him get shut down because of something not so foolish.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah,
Alder Peterson?
I'd like to see something factual come forward from the police department, where issue, bring them in. Something that they're actually open beyond their hours, or allowable hours.
Something less anecdotal.
What time was the incident in the,
There's,
what time was the incident in the paper?
the incident was at 10:40.
Oh,
Yeah, that was something,
We
yeah.
went back in there at 10:20.
Yeah.
It just-
We haven't had a lot of calls. I can
No,
tell you-
there
I can tell
hasn't
you
been a lot
firsthand
of
that
calls.
we haven't had a lot of calls there. There's not a lot of issues.
Okay.
I can relay that to the third shift, shift commander.
Let's do that.
This is you guys'
Like,
concern.
I'm not trying to go
Yep.
after them, I'm
Nope,
trying to.
understood. Understood. So, if there's gonna be no action on the previous month's, reports, a motion to receive and file would be in order then.
Motion to receive and file?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Last item, 729, this month's Police Department Liaison Report.
Mm-mm.
Nothing of concern, I just wanna clarify one of the calls, to Brickhouse. I know Brickhouse has been, kinda, an item of topic, this summer. In the, summary, it says that it was unknown at the time, of the call if anyone inside the bar called about the fight outside. The fight did start inside the bar, and in talking to the investigator that's assigned the shooting, the bar actually called while the fight was going on inside. So they did take measures to call the police before the fight even went outside.
Okay.
So I just wanna clarify that.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions? Alder Peterson?
This is the second same type of incident that might be starting from this location this summer. We had one other one that, there was a shooting that was possibly coming from the same location.
Yeah, this one directly was involved. There's video of it inside the bar. When the fight happens, they call police, it goes outside, the fight continues outside, and then there was a shooting outside. The one previous to this, I don't think we have the definite video that shows people inside that bar, so I can't make that conclusion that the patrons from Brickhouse were in there, they directly went outside and started fighting, and then the shooting. So I don't wanna make that claim, because I don't have the evidence. With this one, I have the evidence that, yes, it did start here and go outside.
Is there any inclination as to whether or not the individual had a gun inside the premise?
You can't see that from our investigation, we don't know.
Yeah,
don't know that.
that's unknown. Right. Thank you.
Alder Coe?
I just wanna say, I mean, Doug's trying to do everything over there because of all the things. They even have, his security people now have body cameras also. And, I talked to him last week after this last one, and he said he was gonna be changing some things up, because he said this was unacceptable also. So, I don't know what he meant by that, but I was worried about this last weekend because we had no street lights at all downtown. And thank God nothing happened, so.
We called in Brickhouse a few meetings ago, and then we rescinded the expression of concern at that point. So is there any action that we'd like to take based on this report, or any further questions for Sergeant? Okay, then a motion is in order to receive and file, I believe.
Motion to receive and file?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We've exhausted our agenda, and we've exhausted ourselves. Thank you very much for hanging in there, everybody. All right, thanks. Now on to the next meeting for those that are at that one. CDBG.
Mm.
That one before this one too.
Is the meeting, and then, is the meeting ended?
Yeah, I did. I just wanna know which stuff are you looking for, kind of?
Yeah.
So.
Hammer and whatever way